Imagine a leader who decides who gets land to farm and settles fights between neighbors with wisdom passed down for centuries. In Shona culture, chiefs hold this incredible power, shaping their communities with every decision they make. Welcome to a deep dive into Shona culture, a rich and vibrant tradition from Zimbabwe. The Shona people have a unique way of life built on respect for ancestors, community, and leadership. At the heart of this culture are chiefs, kings, and community itself, each playing a vital role in keeping traditions alive. Today, we will uncover how these leaders guide their people and why their roles matter so much, even in today's world. So let's get started. Shona chiefs and kings face tough challenges in modern times. Globalization is bringing new ideas like technology and Western lifestyles, which can clash with traditional Shona values. Many young people are moving to cities, chasing jobs, modern opportunities, living in rural villages where chiefs hold sway. This makes it hard to pass down customs like ancestral ceremonies or respect for elders. Chiefs also deal with new kinds of disputes like conflicts over modern land laws while trying to honor old traditions. On top of that, global influences like social media and pop culture can make younger generation feel disconnected from their roots. How do chiefs and kings keep their authority and preserve Shona culture when the world is changing so fast? It's a delicate balancing act that tests their wisdom and leadership. I will come back to explore the tough challenges Shona chiefs and kings are faced with today in detail later. So let's step back in time to understand the historical roles of chiefs and kings in Shona culture. Chiefs were the backbone of local communities, acting as judges, mediators, and spiritual leaders. They decided who could farm on which piece of land, making sure everyone had enough to live. They also settled the disputes, whether it was a family argument or a disagreement between neighbors, using wisdom from Shona traditions. Chiefs led important rituals like rainmaking ceremonies to connect the community with their ancestors, who the Shona believe guide the living. Picture a time long ago in the heart of ancient Zimbabwe, where the land was alive with the spirit of the Shona people. Villages thrived under the shade of mighty baobab trees, and at the center of it all stood the chief, a leader, a guardian, a force of wisdom and strength. Today, we are stepping back in time to uncover the chief's powerful role in land distribution and governance, a legacy that shaped the Shona world. In ancient Shona society, the chief wasn't just a leader, he was the heartbeat of the community. The land, sacred and alive with the spirits of ancestors, was the lifeblood of the people, and it was the chief who held the power to decide how it was shared. Imagine being entrusted with something so precious, like holding the future of your entire village in your hands. Land wasn't just dirt and grass. It was home, it was food, it was survival. The chief's job was to divide it fairly, making sure every family had enough to farm, build, and thrive. He listened to his people, weighed their needs, and used the wisdom passed down from ancestors to make decisions. A family needed more land for a growing herd. The chief found a way. A dispute over boundaries, the chief settled it with fairness and authority. But the chief's role was bigger than just handing out land. He was the glue that held the village together. Governing with a steady hand, he made rules to keep peace, settled arguments, and ensured everyone worked as one. His word was law, but it was rooted in respect for the land, for the ancestors, and for the people he led. What made the chief so powerful wasn't just his authority, it was his connection to the people and the land. He wasn't above them, he was one of them, chosen to carry the weight of leadership. His decisions shaped not just the present but the future, ensuring the Shona way of life would endure. The Shona chiefs of ancient times were more than rulers. They were the keepers of balance, the protectors of their people's dreams. Their legacy lives on in the land they nurtured and the communities they built. There is something I need to point out that helped the Shona maintain social harmony, preserve their traditions, and adapt to changes while staying connected from the chiefdom to the grassroots level. It was because of their chieftainship system, the way it operated, and the society at large. Let me explain a bit more about this. The Shona society was a well-organized social structure centered around a clear hierarchy of leadership that shapes community life. What do I mean by that? So at the top of the hierarchy, there were chiefs. So chiefs were at the top of the leadership. So chiefs or Mambo or Ishe in Shona are the highest ranking leaders in Shona society, and their role, as I explained earlier, it was to oversee large territories that encompassed the multiple villages and clans, and also to resolve disputes. So we just wanted to explore how were these chiefs selected, and the selection process and the legitimacy of the selection. So the position of a chief is typically hereditary. It's passed down through specific lineages, often following a patrilineal system, though some flexibility exists depending on clan customs. So Shona chiefs were chosen mainly through family lines. The chieftainship passed to the eldest male in the clan, usually from the founder's family. So ancestral spirits were important, and spirit mediums who spoke for these ancestors helped pick or approve the new chief. The community had to agree on the choice. Sometimes there were fights over who should be chief, but it was mostly based on family heritage. So below the chiefs, there were headmen or sabuk or sadunu. They operated below the chiefs, managing smaller regions or clusters of villages within the chiefdom. They serve as intermediaries, relaying the chief's directives to villages and reporting local issues back to the chief. So the headmen handle local disputes such as minor land conflicts or family disagreements before escalating complex cases to the chief. They oversee community projects like collective farming or maintaining communal infrastructure, for example, wells or paths. Headmen also play a role in cultural preservation, organizing local ceremonies or ensuring traditional practices are followed. So at the base level, at the base are villages. So villages are the smallest units in the Shona hierarchy, consisting of extended families or clans living in close-knit communities. So each village is led by a village head or sabuk in some contexts, a subordinate leader appointed by the headman or chief, responsible for local governance. So villages function as the heart of the Shona social life, where daily activities like farming, child rearing, and communal work take place. They are tightly knit with strong emphasis on mutual support, shared labor, for example, nimbe, communal farming, and collective decision making. So let's look at the roles within villages. So village head, like I said, they manage local affairs such as resolving minor disputes, for example, between neighbors, organizing communal work, and ensuring village contributions to larger chiefdom events. Also, we have elders. They serve as advisors to the village head, offering wisdom based on experience and tradition. They often mediate conflicts and guide cultural practices. And we also have community members who participate in collective activities. They uphold social norms and contribute to village welfare through labor or resources. So function within the hierarchy. Villages are the operational base where the chief's headsman's directive are implemented. They provide feedback to headmen about local needs, such as drought relief or infrastructure issues, which may escalate to the chief. Villages maintain cultural practices at the grassroots level, hosting rituals, storytelling, and traditional education for younger generation. They foster social cohesion through communal activities, so reinforcing the interconnectedness of the broader Shona society. So the interconnectedness and dynamics of this system is that the hierarchy operates as a cohesive system, with each level, chief, headman, and village interdependent. So chief sets overarching policies, headmen translate these into actionable plans, and villages execute them while providing feedback. So communication flows both ways. Chiefs rely on headmen and the village heads for information about community needs, while villages depend on higher leaders for guidance and resources. So the system is flexible, allowing adaptation to local needs, but it remains rooted in respect for authority and tradition. Spiritual beliefs, particularly the veneration of ancestors wazimu, bind the hierarchy together, as all leaders are seen as mediators between the living and the spiritual realm. So, evolution and modern context. So historically, this hierarchy was the sole governing system, but colonial rule and modern governance have introduced parallel structures such as elected officials and national laws, which sometimes dilute traditional authorities. I mentioned earlier on that we will come back to have a look at the impact of modern life on traditional leadership roles. So we just want to look at the impact of modernity on traditional leadership roles. So the first thing is that we now have reduced authority of chiefs and headmen. Modern governance systems like national laws and local governments often override the authority of chiefs and headmen in legal and administrative matters. So traditional leaders may be seen as symbolic rather than decision-making figures, in a way reducing their influence. The other effect is that we have seen a shift to formal education, and modern education systems prioritize academic qualifications over traditional knowledge, and this makes village heads and elders less relevant as sources of wisdom. And our young people may challenge traditional leadership if it conflicts with modern ideas that they learn in schools. The other thing is economic dependence. Traditional leaders often lack financial resources, relying on government or community support, which weakens their independence and status. So modern economic systems favor elected officials or business leaders overshadowing traditional roles. And the other effect is technology and communication. With the coming of social media and modern communication, it reduces the need for traditional gatherings where leaders once played central roles. So information spreads faster through technology these days, bypassing traditional leaders as community mediators. And the other impact is changing social values. So modern emphasis on individualism, mazwake, clashes with the communal values upheld by traditional leaders, weakening their role in fostering unity. And gender equality movements do challenge male-dominated leadership structures, prompting calls for reform in traditional roles. So for this episode, we end here. What do you think about the evolving role of traditional leaders like Shona chiefs? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you loved this deep dive, check out our other videos on Shona cultures for more stories that inspire. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Till we meet next, take care.